everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today I'm going to be doing, kind of starting a series on where I talk about authors I used to love and why I choose not to read their books anymore. This first episode, we're going to start off with the one, the only, Miss Colleen Hoover. I have all my Colleen Hoover books right here, and we're going to talk about every single one of them, why I liked them or didn't like them when I first read them, and why these books made me not want to read her books anymore, you know what I'm saying? But anyways, yeah, I'm going to go through every book in order of the way I read them. So let's get started. Also, make sure to follow me on Instagram and TikTok and Goodreads. So the first Colleen Hoover book I ever read was It Ends With Us. And if you don't know what It Ends With Us is about, it's basically about this girl named Lily who basically she's going through a rough patch in her life and she meets this guy, and it's basically, I don't know how to explain. I'm so bad at explaining books, and this one is really hard to explain, so I'm not even gonna try. This was my favorite Colleen Hoover book, the first one I ever read. This was my favorite book for a really long time. I used to tell people, when people would ask, what's your favorite book? It Ends With Us by Colleen Hoover. That's what I always said until I read Better Than the Movies, which I read Better Than the Movies like a year ago, so that puts into perspective how long I was telling people that this was my favorite book. But this book does hold a very special place in my heart because it is kind of what helped jumpstarted my reading addiction, my book addiction, I don't know. Like what really made me get into reading for enjoyment. So it does hold a special place in my heart because of that. Now that I look back on this book, there are some parts where I'm like, oh, that was kind of weird, like her writing letters to Ellen. I mean, to each their own, but I just found, like, why Ellen, you know? But I also feel like you can't really judge this book. Like, I can't judge it now because this book, in the author's note, Colleen Hoover writes about how this book was kind of inspired by her mom's story and her experiences. With that being said, like, I feel like it's almost wrong to judge this story because it's based off of something so real. I'm just gonna leave it at that. The second Colleen Hoover book I ever read was The One, the Only, Ugly Love. I remember all the book talkers saying that this was their favorite Colleen Hoover book, that this book was a 5-star. I literally remember so well Sarah Caroli that this was like one of her 5-star reads, one of her favorite books, and now she like never talks about it, and I think it's kind of silly. So if you don't know what this story is about, it's about Tate, and then like, I can't explain. Basically, she moves in with her brother. I can't remember where they live, but they move in together somewhere. She meets her brother's really good friend. They both are pilots. They kind of start a friends with benefits relationship and such. And the guy, he has like a lot of trauma of why he doesn't want to be in a serious relationship. And you kind of learn his story, which is kind of unsettling. But it's also like really, really freaking sad. I won't even lie. There's like a big meaning to this cover, which is, honestly, now that I think about it, like, why would they make this the cover based off that horrific situation? I remember wanting to read this book so bad because people would be like, the meaning of the cover, the meaning of the cover. And I was like, girl, what the heck is the meaning of the cover? It Ends With Us has some spice with it, but this one was the first truly like spice book that I was like low-key like, oh, let me take a step back. Honestly, it's not that bad compared to like Penelope Douglas and like Monica Murphy. So yeah, Colleen Hoover books are actually pretty tame. And now I look back on this book and I'm like, yeah, that's definitely not my favorite. I think I did rate this a 5-star at the time as well. I feel like I would have to read it again to really like get my new opinion on it, just because the things I like to read and my personal taste in books has definitely changed. But I do remember there was this one really cute part that I even go back and read sometimes. Okay, this part still makes me giddy, I won't even lie. This is why I can't like judge this book either, because I love this part. I'm just gonna read it to you. I'm super bad at reading out loud, but we're gonna try. He looked straight ahead and I looked straight back at my book. 30 minutes passed and the movement of the car, accompanied by my attempt to read, is making my head hurt. I set the book down beside me and readjust myself in the back seat. I lean my head back and prop my feet up on the console between Miles and Corbin. He glances at me in the rearview mirror, and his eyes feel like their hands are running. Okay, what? I haven't read this in a while. Now that I'm reading it out loud, I'm a little scared. And his eyes feel like hands running over every inch of me. Okay, girl. He holds a stare for no longer than 2 seconds, and then he looks back at the road. I hate this. I have no idea what's going through his head. He never smiles, he never laughs, he doesn't flirt, his face appears as if he keeps a constant veil of armor between his expressions and the rest of the world. I've always been a sucker for the quiet types of guys, primarily because most guys talk too much, and it's painful having to suffer through every single thought that goes through their heads. Miles makes me wish he were the opposite of the quiet type, though. I want to know all the thoughts that pass through his head, especially the one thought that is there right now, hiding beneath the unwavering stonic expression. I'm still staring at him in the rearview mirror, trying to figure him out. When he glances at me again, I look down at my phone, a little embarrassed that he caught me staring at him. But that mirror is like a magnet, and damn it if my eyes don't shoot back up to it. The second I look into the mirror again, so does he. I look back down. Shit. This drive is about to be the longest drive of my entire life. It takes 3 minutes, and then I look again. Shit, so does he. I smile, amused by whatever game we're playing. He smiles too. He smiles too. Miles looks back at the road, but his smile remains for several seconds. I know because I can't stop staring at it. I want to take a picture of it before it disappears again, but that would be so weird. Oh, that part still gets me to this day. I don't know why. Like, it's not even that crazy, but, and it's especially when she was saying his eyes are like hands running down on my body. Girl, I don't know, that scene just gets, like, I don't know, it's just like kind of cute. Anyways, yeah, so I've been talking about this book too long. That's Ugly Love, and it's kind of a little fucked up. The things that Miles was doing in his past were a little like, oh. Next, we got November 9 by Colleen Hoover. Okay, November 9 is, it's low on there. It is low on there in this list. Like, I do not like this book. I didn't even really like it when I first read it, but I still rated it like a 4 stars because I was like, I have to like it. Like, I love Colleen Hoover now. But this book is also a little fucked up. It takes place in the same universe as Ugly Love. It's like, because Tate and Miles like appear in the end or whatever, but like you don't have to read Ugly Love to read this book. It's basically about this girl named Fallon. She's like a child actress, or she was a child actress, and then at the peak of her career, her house went off, like bursted into flames. She survived, but she has really bad burns on her face and on her body. Her dad is like a piece of shit, and he's really famous or whatever. And basically she meets this one guy, and then they just make an agreement to meet up every November 9th at the same restaurant in the same spot, like every year. That's the only time they see each other throughout the year. They are no contact. They don't have phone numbers, social media, nothing. Like, just the way Ben acts and the things he does sometimes was very uncomfortable to me, because I was like, I would actually freaking freak out if someone did that to me. Like, that's not okay. The big plot twist at the end, I don't know how you could just get over that personally. So yeah, this is definitely not a book I would ever read again, and a book I would never recommend. I don't like this book at all, and I won't lie. I just think it's so weird how you romanticize these two people together. I just feel like this man needs to be getting some serious help. He needs to be like low-key doing some prison time. So yeah, don't read this book. For whatever reason, the first part of this clip, like the sound just sounded weird, but basically the next book I read was Heart Bones by Colleen Hoover. Basically, I hated this book. I hated this book. This was I started to question Colleen. I was like, okay, what the hell? I remember so many people being like, I love this book. And I was just like, what the heck am I reading? And why did it end this way? Her mother died, so she goes to live with her dad and his new wife and stepdaughter. And she spends the summer with them. They have like a nice beach house, and she goes and stays in the beach house with them. Her stepsister has like a boyfriend, and the boyfriend's like best friend is the guy that she kind of meets, and that's kind of the love interest in this book. Basically no spice in this book. I don't know if it's considered YA. I wouldn't say it's YA. Like, I think she's 18. She just graduated from high school. And the guy, I have no clue how old he is, but he's older than her. He's like house sitting or something for his family members. And he lives so he's staying in the beach house next door to her. He does something and something big happens. And they still end up together in the end. And I just really didn't like that, just because I didn't think they should end up together in the end. And I just felt like it was weird, and it kind of like normalized that, like, okay, like the guy might do this, but it's fine. Like, So, like, I just didn't love that, and he would, like, the lying and stuff. I probably would have liked it if they didn't end up together. I always forget that I've read this book because it's that bad. But, yeah, don't read Heartbones. No. Like, everyone's like, a cute little summer romance book, Heartbones. No, it's not a cute little summer romance book. I also just never told you guys the title of this book that I'm about to show you. It's Reminders of Him. I read this directly after I read Heartbones. I mean, this book actually is one of the better ones. It's not really bad like Heartbones or November 9. But after reading this, I was kind of like, I don't think Colleen Hoover's for me anymore. This girl named Kenna was in prison, and she gave birth in prison and gave it to her boyfriend's parents, but her boyfriend had passed away. That's kind of the reason why she was in prison, and you don't really know exactly what happened. So you figure that out as you read. I don't think they know she got out, or they do know, and they're kind of like on the lookout. She like pulls up to their house. She kind of stands outside because she had never met her daughter, and she was wanting to be in her life again. And she kind of stood up there, sitting on the other side of the road, like on the pavement. Her his best friend pulls up because he lives across the street from them. And he is like, what are you doing here? Like, I know exactly who you are. And he's like, you gotta leave. They end up falling in love with the boyfriend's best friend, and she gets to see her daughter again, and you find all these things, and yeah. So it's not like terrible, but it's just like, it's like whatever, you know? I remember Destiny Stillwell. I remember saying that this was her favorite Colleen Hoover book. To each their own. And probably because this is the most normal one. I don't like know what else to say about this book. It's just not my favorite. But yeah, this is like, after reading this, I was like, I just don't really think Colleen Hoover books are really for me. I just don't love them. But then It Starts With Us came out, and I was like, I have to read It Starts With Us. Like, I need to know what happens. Like, I read It Ends With Us, and it was like my favorite book for so long. Obviously, we gotta read It Starts With Us. This is my least favorite Colleen Hoover book. This book did not need to exist. The way It Ends With Us ends, it like kind of closes out, and it kind of like, it has a satisfying ending. You don't need a second book, and I'm telling you, this was just a cash grab. Just a cash grab because It Ends With Us was so popular, because this also came out years after It Ends With Us. It Ends With Us came out forever ago. It takes place directly after It Ends With Us ends. So if you know what happens at the end of that book, it starts right there. Lily and what's his name, Atlas, trying to like start a relationship, but while she's still the mother to Ryle's child, and how they kind of navigate that relationship. And Atlas ends up having like a brother. I don't fucking know. Nothing really happens, honestly. When I went into this book, I thought Ryle was going to be getting angry. I thought Ryle was going to be picking fights with Atlas, and like physical fights. And that just didn't happen. Like, he kind of just got over it. Me, I'm like, Ryle wouldn't just get over it. Like, did we not read the first book? Like, he's not just gonna get over it. Stupid stuff were happening, and I'm like, what does this have to do with what's the baby's name? Emerson? Ooh, I forgot about that. Like, what does this have to do with the kid? What does this have to do with Lily and Atlas's relationship? Why is Ryle so chill? Like, what? And I just want to talk about kind of the It Ends With Us movie. Pretty sure the movie either got canceled or like paused during the SAG strike, but they haven't restarted production since the strike ended, so I'm not really sure if that's going to be continuing anymore. When we started getting like pictures from the filming and the outfits and the casting, I got really disappointed, because that book just meant so much to me, and it's just like, I just knew there were going to be so many changes done that I wasn't gonna like. And it like honestly really hurt. It hurt that it was just looking bad. And it made me like look back on all the books I read at first, and like make me realize that her books are just not my taste anymore. They're just not what I like to read anymore. So I'm not gonna read any more of her books. I'm, again, never say never. Maybe I will one day. Maybe she'll pop off one of these days and make like the best book I've ever read in my life. But as of right now, she's had quite a few books come out, more books come out, and I have decided I don't want to read any of them. So I'm no longer interested in reading Colleen Hoover books. So yeah, that's basically all I have to say. If you want to see like another one of these videos, there's definitely a few authors that I choose not to read anymore. But the other ones that I don't read anymore are very controversial. So I'm kind of scared because I feel like Colleen Hoover, like the Colleen Hoover hype has died down a lot, but a lot of the books are a lot of the other authors that I choose not to read anymore, they're still very hyped up. They're still very much loved. They have a very big fan base. So I am a little scared. This was so fun to film. So thanks for watching.